So, this is Mr. MegaManFan, and I don't normally do on camera that much, but I just got back from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and I thought I'd talk about it for a few minutes. No, this isn't what I would call a movie review. If you want a movie review, you should probably go to somebody like the angry video game nerd James Rolfe. He does that kind of thing for Cinemassacre. No, this is more like my thoughts, what I liked, what I didn't like, that sort of thing. First of all, I liked the movie a lot. Now, I was in the skeptic camp going in because the original CGI looking Sonic the Hedgehog was atrocious, and everybody had their immediate doubts about whether or not this could be done successfully on the big screen. Well, they retooled Sonic, they made him look more palatable to fans of the video games, so that's a plus. And then, of course, there were the Jim Carrey skeptics like, oh, he's just wacky and zany and over the top and makes all those funny faces, and how are we supposed to be able to take Dr. Robotnik as a threat seriously? Well, actually, he pulls it off. He's a mad scientist in the literal definition of the phrase. He is somebody who is hyper intelligent and very full of himself and definitely scrambled in the brain. And there are plenty of egg jokes and plenty of egg puns to go around as a result of that, including all of his egg-shaped robots and droids and things that he sends out. So I think the casting of Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik was right on the money. And everybody that was worried that he would steal the movie because he'd get all the best lines and he'd say all the funniest things, well, he does say a lot of funny things, particularly when he's dealing with Tom Wiskowski and Sonic the Hedgehog. He has a quite a banter back and forth between them, but I think Sonic actually gets a lot of the really good lines in the film, and he gets a lot of the visual gags too that are cues for Sonic the Hedgehog fans. I know I'm Mr. MegaManFan, right? That's obvious. You all know me for that, but I've been playing the Sonic games almost as long as the Mega Man games, and I have a deep appreciation for them. And the lore, such as it is, good, bad, sometimes horrendous. We've all seen the videos about the mistakes that have been made in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. You know them well. But if you appreciate the good, the bad, and the ugly all together, that's not to say there isn't good, bad, and ugly in the Mega Man franchise too. Mega Man 8 has a lot of examples of things they could have done better, right? So there are no sacred idols. Mega Man's not perfect, Sonic the Hedgehog's not perfect, but if you appreciate the inside jokes, they do put them in there. There's a bar fight where Sonic is moving so fast that everything is in like slow motion. You know, it's like the Flash basically, where he can move things around in his hyperspeed state because he's moving faster than everybody and everything, so it's literally like time is frozen around him. And Sonic does some great visual gags with that power, including a chili dog reference. The moment he went for the food in the bar, I was like, oh, he's gonna eat chili dogs, and I wasn't disappointed. Those are the kind of things that as a Sonic fan you will appreciate. So I gotta say, the casting was really on point. I like Tom as the cop from Green Hills, Montana. Yes, Green Hills. That was well done. I like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think the voice acting was great, and the CGI is as believable as it's going to be for Sonic interacting in a world populated by humans. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, excellent. You know, I feel like the main cast was all spot on, and there are plenty of, it's a funny movie, but there are plenty of heartwarming scenes, like when Tom's wife's sister is tied up in her home, which I'm not even going to explain why or how that happens, just accept that's a thing. Daughter Jojo sees how messed up Sonic's feet are from running all the time, and so she goes and gets a pair of red shoes and gives them to him. So first of all, visual cue to Sonic's footwear, And second of all, it's such a sweet, adorable thing for this little girl to do. There's an alien in her home, and she should be scared or terrified or petrified or God knows what, but instead she's like, aw, this poor hedgehog, look at his sore feet. I'm gonna get him some nice shoes and maybe he'll feel better. And Sonic smiles at her and says, that's the first gift anybody's ever given me. And tell me that doesn't pull at your heartstrings just a little bit. If you say it doesn't, you're lying. It's not ever going to be everything everybody wants. Let me tell you what you're not going to get from it. Knuckles the Echidna? No, not in this movie. Miles? Well, Miles' tails per hour, I'll just say not in the movie, but I'm gonna leave it at that because there's something you'll want to say for after the movie. I'm not gonna spoil it beyond that. Just stay for a few minutes of the credits. You don't have to stay all the way to the bitter end because there's no post-credit scene, but just stay for a little bit and you'll get a nice Easter egg. There I go with the egg pun myself. Oh, and speaking of which, one of the things that a Sonic fan will appreciate is how are these powers going to translate into a real world full of human beings? Well, I already mentioned the Speed Force aspect where he's moving so fast that everything is frozen in time. But another one that you see come into play is when he discovers that he can roll up into a ball and kind of hypercharge his innate physical powers of speed and use that to bash things. And there's a climactic boss fight where for the first time he really maxes out that ability, and it is so satisfying because suddenly it clicks in your head. This is what I've done in every 2D platforming Sonic game. I've turned into a ball and bounced into Dr. Robotnik's machines and destroyed them. And it looks like that and it feels like that, and if you're not smiling, then you're probably not a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Is it a perfect movie? No. Is there any such thing as a perfect movie? That's kind of hard to say. I don't know what would be a perfect movie. There are great movies, but even great movies have flaws. I mean, Back to the Future, great movie, not perfect. Tron, one of my all-time favorite movies ever, not perfect. So I wouldn't say Sonic the Hedgehog is a perfect movie. That would be going too far. Would I say it actually succeeds in capturing the essence of what Sonic the Hedgehog is? And does it translate to an audience that grew up on Sonic the Hedgehog games? The answer to both questions is yes. It's funny when it needs to be funny. It's serious when it needs to be serious. It's charming when it needs to be charming. The relationships are very well established, very early on, because Sonic is hiding out on Earth, and he's actually been spying on the town of Green Hills this whole time, so he develops relationships with these people and they don't even know it. It's like 1 Hour Photo, except it's not a psychopathic Robin Williams, may he rest in peace, but it's like he's genuinely in love with these people and they don't even know who he is, except for one person in the town named Crazy Carl, who draws, and I mean, this is another one of those visual gags that Sonic fans will appreciate. His drawing of Sonic looks like Sonic, the Sonic Hedgehog. So they clearly put some thought into putting these things in the film for fans of the franchise, and I appreciate that. I feel like this is the best they could do. I don't think you're going to get any better adaptation of it. And the way it ends leaves it open for a sequel. And because of that, and because I enjoyed myself and had a good time, I want a sequel. I would go back to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. They've done enough to get me invested in coming back to see it again. So don't consider this a movie review as much as it is just my thoughts immediately after seeing the movie while it's all still fresh in my head. Sonic's powers make sense. Sonic's adaptation to the human world makes sense. The CGI is good enough. Dr. Robotnik, Jim Carrey, spot on. He's every bit the crazy genius that he should be, but he's also funny in the way that only an evil genius could be. Just check out the scene when he's in his lab trying to figure out Sonic's powers and tell me you are not laughing during that whole thing. Oh, and give a little credit to his assistant too, Mr. Stone. That guy is underrated and deserves some kind of award for best straight man, because the zaniness of Jim Carrey works even better when he is just being dismissive and brutally mean to his assistant, who takes it all and it just accepts it for whatever, like he's in awe of Dr. Robotnik's genius, or he's really paid well, or both. So he puts up with a lot of abuse and he becomes the straight man for the comedy addicts of Dr. Robotnik. But I'm not going to tell you any more than that. I'm just going to say Sonic the Hedgehog fans should enjoy this movie. I'd be really surprised if they don't. And I really think video game fans in general will, in the end, when it's all said and done, with all the bad video game movie adaptations that we've had over the years, this will not go down as one of the all-time worst. This will go somewhere on the list of above average to well above average for video game-based movies. That's Mr. Mega Man Fan. That's just my thoughts. Go see it and decide for yourself.